There are really 5 ways that I've heard of that you can actually reconcile the two realities. And I'm sure the philosophers have gone into this in far more depth than I'm going to go into here. But the first one is, it comes from the Islamic paradigm of the purpose of life, right? That this life is a test. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are judged based upon the intention. So essentially what that is saying is that even if your whole life was determined, and all the actions that you do are determined, and all of the things that happen to you are determined, but the intentions that you have in your head are not determined. They are completely free and they are your choice, and that is upon which you shall be judged. And so in Islam we have this concept of deeds being weighed relative to an individual, right? So I can give $100, right? And maybe it's just worth $100 in terms of charity, right? But another person can give $100 and maybe that's all they had, right? So in the eyes of God, maybe that $100, because of its pure intention that was behind it, is actually worth $1 million. And another person might give $100, but they're trying to show off, or they might be intending some type of harm on someone, and that might actually be a detriment to them, right? That might actually be not even considered a good deed for that person, right? So we have this freedom in our mind, right? And human beings are one of the only creatures that can actually express freedom of will. Like I said, the lion eats the gazelle because it's compelled to do so. But the human being is designed to eat meat and vegetables, but some of them only eat vegetables, right? Some of them only eat meat. The human choice is pretty much unlimited, right? So that's one way of kind of understanding it, is that the intention is free and the rest is determined. The other way of kind of understanding it is, I wish I knew this kid's name. There was a kid I watched on YouTube, he was kind of explaining this. And he kind of gave the example of KSI and Logan Paul in a boxing match, right? And he said during the match, it wasn't a fixed match, right? It wasn't like one person was supposed to win or was paid to lose or whatever, right? It was a free and open match. People are putting bets, people are guessing, who's going to win, who's going to win. But then when that is recorded and put on YouTube, well, now it is a fixed event, right? Because every time you watch that video, it plays out the exact same way. It's just one frame after another, right? And so the way he was explaining it was that God essentially is timeless, right? God can see all the frames in front of him at once. And they never change. They are all completely fixed. But for us, we are kind of beings inside the fabric of time, inside the flow of time. And so for us, there is freedom, right? That we aren't forced to do what we're doing. I'm not forced to make this video. I'm not forced to wave my hands in the air. That's not something that I'm forced to do, even though it is known and determined in the perspective of God. The third way of kind of understanding this, I got this from one of my in-laws, who is a quantum physicist. Right, so he was telling me that there are actually particles, like subatomic particles, that seem to behave in a form of randomness, right? So it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason behind why those particles move the way they do, right? Just seems completely unpredictable. But when you go back in the macro level, there are actually probability curves that govern the behavior of that particle. What you really have is you have an issue of perspective, right? Similar to what we just said, which at the micro level, they're random, right? So we might be that micro level where there's enough randomness in life for us to make decisions that are purely free. But at the macro level, we might be behaving in a very deterministic way. In the same way there's the probability curve. So that was number 3. Number 4 was what was it? So number 4 was, it's a principle from philosophy called the parallel train theory, right? And essentially the thought experiment here is, imagine you have 2 trains with parallel train tracks, right? So the train tracks, they're always kind of the same distance from each other. They're always moving in the same direction. So one moves this way, the other one moves this way, one moves that way, the other one moves that way. One goes down, the other one goes into the tunnel, right? So, and these 2 trains depart at the same time, and they arrive at the same time to their destination, right? But these 2 trains, they are not compelling one another or influencing one another's behavior, right? So the 2 trains here are, of course, destiny and free will, right? Where free will is not changing destiny, and destiny is not changing the course of free will, but their paths are identical at all times, right? So this is another way of kind of digesting the coexistence of free will and destiny. And the last way, which is kind of one of my favorites, I think it's from Sayyidina Ali, radiallahu anhu, When a man asked him, he said, how do you reconcile destiny and free will? And he told the man, he said, lift your leg. And the man lifted his leg. And so then he said, now in this state, lift your other leg. So basically he has one foot in the air, and he's told to lift the other foot. And of course he's standing on that foot, so he's unable to. So Sayyidina Ali, he said, the first leg was destiny, or was free will. And the second leg is destiny. And I find with examples like this, it's best to just let you kind of digest that. So I've given you 5 reasons on how you can reconcile destiny and free will. Nonetheless, there's a saying in the Sharia, which is that doubt does not erase certainty. Right? It is certain that there must exist predestination, and it is certain that we must act according to free will. Right? These are two certain facts of our existence. And not understanding the relationship between the two, or not understanding the wisdom between the two, isn't enough to deny the realities to begin with. So if you like that video, I'm going to be posting more clips like it over here. Or if you want to watch the full thing, check out this video over here. So thank you guys for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.